this conversation by talking about asking ourselves two questions just to kind of get us started, some little brain teasers. The first question is, at what point is forgiveness not enough? And then the second question is just our immediate thoughts. What does it take to truly forgive yourself or something else? So anybody want to jump in?
I will. Hey, y'all. I'm Dominique, your girl. But in regards to your first question, right? So your first question was at what point is forgiveness not enough?
Yeah.
For me personally, there is no point where forgiveness is not enough, but there is a point where maybe the way that I'm going about handling the situation or handling the person or handling the relationship would change. And I'm saying that because forgiveness is more for me than it is for the other person. Forgiveness for me says that I'm not going to allow the circumstance or the situation to affect my mentality, to affect my emotions, to affect my position. So however, I'm not going to continuously put myself in a position to where I got to keep offering you that forgiveness, in a way of some type of form of abuse, or in a way of some type of form of, you're really not for me. There's some people that's really not for you, but they like to smile and be hooked up to you because they want to see how far you could go, or maybe they could get on the gravy train or something of that nature. But for me, forgiveness is always enough for my sanity, for my peace of mind.
Yeah, I would say that it just depends on the offense, and not that you don't forgive, but I think that there's a lot of times where people may, like, say for instance, like with R. Kelly, okay, just bringing out, I know that everyone knows R. Kelly, a genius with his music. He's had created a lot of songs that, from spiritual songs to hip hop in the club, Wild 'N Out. And so initially when we heard and we saw that, he was allegedly messing with younger women or younger girls, it was like a big, like, okay, we'll forgive him because we really want his music. And, it's like, okay, who hasn't done this? We'll let it go to the wayside. Right. And so, but then after a while, it's like repeated offenses, and then also something that's taboo, as you like sleeping with people that are underage, allegedly. I think that forgiveness is a much more difficult thing in things where you feel like it's taboo, or where, like, okay, I have repeatedly given you multiple chances. Like, it's over 2 decades. We've had a span of music. This is just us bringing up, a star. But, I know that in my heart of hearts, I still, you forgive the person for multiple offenses, but it's like you want them to do the right thing. And so, unfortunately, sometimes it's just, if we don't do something about this, if we don't stand for something, we'll just continue to allow you to, do bad things. So I think that if it's taboo and repeated offenses, that sometimes it's like, I don't know if I want to forgive you as much anymore, and make it difficult.
And that's real, though. That's real. That's honest. Jax, what you think?
Well, my thing is, I'm in that wheelhouse of, I don't think there's anything that I won't forgive. However, because and that's only because forgiveness, just like Dominique said, is definitely more for the forgiver than the forgivee. But I do change my actions with that person after I have forgiven them, only because I don't want to put myself in that same position again to even have to forgive you, if that makes sense. So my thing is, yes, I will forgive you, but the relationship will be altered because of that. And it's not like I'll be nasty or anything like that. It's just the point of you changed the relationship. You altered the relationship. And so with that, some behaviors on my part will have to be altered as well.
Right. You said another thing, Dante. The second question was, what does it take to truly forgive yourself or something else? And for me, that's to make it up in my mind that the situation is not going to have power over me. I'm going to give you an example. I was in a long-term relationship since college, and a lot of things went down in the DM in that relationship. Okay, a lot of things went down in the DM in that relationship, but I had to make it up in my mind that if I never get an apology, if I never understand why, if I never, have closure, that this person does not have control over my emotions. I made a conscious decision to say, I forgive that foolishness. You got it. You did it. You did me dirty. I see you. I caught the wave. But I'm not going to continue to let you take me on an emotional roller coaster by still allowing what you did to me 3 years ago to pierce my heart towards new people that I may be getting in a relationship, how I view myself. Because for a minute there, I was thinking maybe it's me. Maybe it's me. Maybe I ain't pretty enough. Maybe I ain't bringing enough to the table. And honey, I had to take a look back and say, baby girl, you the bomb.com. Okay, you thorough. He's a fool, So it had to take, what it took for me is making it up in my mind that somebody else's disposition, somebody else's opinion, somebody else's actions cannot move how I feel about myself, how I see the world, what God has placed on the inside of me. So that's what it took for me, just making up in my mind that you ain't about to have that kind of authority and power over me any longer. And that's just not for relationships, but that's about every situation that I encounter now when it comes to an offense. First of all, I compare it. Does this offense is it even worth me saying something about? Because I live by the rule that sometimes you got to pick and choose your battles. Sometimes something don't require me to exert energy into said situation. Okay, so number one, does it even require a response from me? Number two, does it even require me to go to a place where I need to say I forgive you? Because sometimes I don't even need to forgive your stuff. Sometimes you need to just go ahead about your day and figure your own situation out. I don't let it sometimes even get in my spirit or in my space good enough to even cause me to say I need to forgive you for something.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And my thing is, you said something there, a couple of things there that I really like. Now, the thing is, first with the question, I think that forgiving self is like a ongoing thing. It's like an ongoing thing only because I think that we do so many things that may be out of his will. And let me not speak for everybody. I do. And so it's like I need to openly and always forgive self first, because if I can't forgive me, there's no way I'm going to be able to forgive anyone else. But it's like an ongoing thing of forgiving self and making sure you're not walking around with self-hurt on you, because then you'll be trying to hurt other people. But you said something about closure there, and again, you and your dynamic and my dynamic is always a little different, and it's only because I never sought closure with anybody, only because I always knew that forgiveness was pretty much a mindset, and so it's like I can forgive you. I don't have to tell you I forgive you. I forgive you, and I move around, and so it's like it's not a big issue. I don't need you to respond. I don't really care if you respond or not, because I've already forgiven you and I've already mentally moved on to something else. And then you also said about the commenting and what you certain things don't even require your energy, your energy to speak to someone about certain things. I think that this society that we've come up with social media and comments and things of that nature, everybody thinks that their comment actually matters in the grand scheme of things, right, when it really doesn't. It really doesn't. Your comment on things that that have nothing to do with you really don't mean anything to anybody. And I think that this generation that we have coming up, they don't really understand that, and they think that everything requires their comment, when in the grand scheme of things, it does not matter. Nobody cares. And people just basically want to scroll through and laugh at things. And we've created this thing where everybody thinks that their point matters. And for the most part, it really doesn't.
Right. But you see, like, I agree with you, but then I disagree too, that when you talk about you, it may not matter to you to get a comment and it not affect you, because it's like, okay, that's somebody behind a screen or behind their phone, and now they're like big and bad. But there is a generation where, like, if the way that you socialize is through social media, then it means stuff to you. Like, you actually looking for validation, for likes. You actually, you breaking up. You find out that somebody is not your friend anymore because they've unfriended you online, and like they've canceled you out. You didn't know. You try to send them a message, and then the message doesn't go through because oh snap, we're not friends no more. And they actually have feelings that are attached to that. So I think that it depends on you. I mean, like the generation that you're in as well. And it may not bother you, but it may bother somebody else. It may bother your president because he be on Twitter like that.
Now, you do have a point there. You definitely have a point there, and I think that's a mental thing where you looking for validation from people who you might know or might not, but it's like a click of a button is going to offend you. It's going to change your whole day because somebody clicked the button on you, which is a mental thing. But I can definitely see where you're coming from when if that's all you know and you're not getting that validation from somewhere else, then I could see how that could be much more impactful on your life than somebody like me.
I agree. And I think in the social media environment, you said it perfectly, April. Everybody is looking for the keyword validation. Mm-hmm. And the Bible tells us that we shouldn't seek our validation from people because they so finicky. They go one way, they go the other way. They always change and they're never constant. You can't really depend on people. So my opinion about April may change on Monday from Sunday. You get what I'm saying? I'm so finicky as a human being. I think that we have to implore people that although social media is dope, it links the world together, but we can't get so caught up in saying, let's put all our business out there. Let's see what the world has to say about it. And then let's stop getting offended when we hear what the world got to say about it. Yeah. Because it's not for the world to give you their opinion about what's going on. It's the way I look at social media is, listen, baby, you following me, you following all of this. Okay, so whatever it is that I put out there, you have the option to unfollow.
Easy, or just keep scrolling. Now, I really do. I'm going to get back to you. I promise you. But my thing is the putting all your business out there and everything on social media. When we talk about true relationship with someone and say Dominique and I are dating, and all of a sudden we break up, Dominique goes and posts all this stuff out there, and then say later on we get back together. Like it's almost like our we don't have intimacy anymore because if everybody knows exactly what's going on, we don't really have anything because I have I'm saying, it's with everybody. It's not with just us
social
anymore.
Media makes it hard to forgive because so many offenses occur on social media. So many people get offended on these platforms, and it causes people to have that stuff sit inside of their spirits, and that blocks forgiveness. If every time I come on and I see somebody throwing shade at a post for me, it's going to develop in me, regardless if I care about your opinion or not, because it goes from, I don't care about your opinion, but you trying me. Because what you keep coming on my stuff for, saying something, you ain't going to tell me to my face, then we need to go ahead and cut all this social media gangster out. Okay? But I think that social media being a driver in this generation and over the last, I want to say even 2 decades, we can start really social media and technology really rearing its head in the last 2 decades. It's building a lot of offense, and it's not allowing people to be able to forgive because nobody's
there's a lack of grace.
Talk it through. Nobody's able to connect personally to get past the offense, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But
I like what you said there, Dante. I like what you said there, Dante. It definitely is a lack of grace.
I agree. It's definitely a lack of grace. Go ahead, April.
Well, I was going to say that I think that it depends. Like, so just as quick as I may click the button to say, I unfollow you, I'm not your friend no more. You know what? I'm getting in your Instagram, and I'm gonna message and put it out there to the world that I don't deal with you. I'm frustrated with something that you said or you did, and now I'm unfollowing you. Just the same as when I do that, but now we're friends again, and then we're following each other, and then I say, "Ooh, cute outfit," or I'm F with you or whatever. I don't want to use curse words, but I'm just saying that, you know, like if I say that I deal with you, you know, on Facebook then or Instagram, then it also just, it may validate the person again to say, okay, we good now. And so people just as quick as I may be demonized, I could be placed in a position where people like me. And you know, so I think that the click and the unclick, you know, like I think that those things work hand in hand. So even though we, you know, may say that we see something on there, I think it allows people to be emboldened to be able to just say whatever they want to say. And, you know, and that looks like, and then you got a whole list of other people that may comment on that message that is agreeing with, you know, your foe. And so then you're like, oh gosh, everybody hates me. You know, everybody hates what I did. But I definitely think that, you know, you actually have to put everything into perspective. And social media is just one of those things that people, like, you know, you can get on there real quick and just say what you feel. And like y'all said, that sometimes you just don't need to say anything. You don't need to say anything. You can just type it and then erase it.
Just don't put enter, because sometimes that enter button get it to send. So don't hit enter now.
Correct. And so while we're talking about social media, earlier this week, former gubernatorial candidate Andrew Gilliam took to Instagram after months of rehab counseling and self-evaluation to apologize for his behaviors this past
Mm-hmm.
March. As you may recall, the former Tallahassee mayor was found passed out in a Miami hotel, and there were allegations of drug use and alcoholism. Prior to this incident, he was indeed Florida's future. Everyone believed that. And even after losing the race for governor, he was deemed as a potential hopeful for the vice presidency, for the Democratic ticket, as well as going on CNN and being a CNN correspondent. Many African Americans and minorities alike venerated him and held him to such high expectations. And so when that happened, what happened in March, a lot of people kind of looked at him differently or canceled him, as we talked about last week, and wrote him off and said that they could not forgive him for his indiscretions or for his shortcomings, and even turn his back on him. And so we want to talk about that a little bit. We want to talk about, you know, should forgiveness be should we extend forgiveness to even those who are in the public eye? And how often, how important is it really to not put our sole trust or all of our hope and our will and support in celebrities and people of notoriety, so much so to the point that when they do fall short, whether it be this particular incident or something even more petty or trivial, how should we handle that as supporters or as followers? Should we extend that level of grace, or should we, you know, not hold them to such high esteem to where we're so disappointed and just want to cancel them? Or, you know, should we be empathetic? What do you guys think?
Well, I think that I'll go ahead, April.
You can go.
I think that when we talk about politicians and we talk about celebrities, I think that people in general, not this guy right here, but people in general, they want to place like they want to put a pedestal under them and want them to be like this perfect person. And we always forget that, you know, although they're a celebrity, although they're a politician, that they're also a person, and people are imperfect. There's only one perfect being, and he's here, but we can't see him. So it's like, we, of course, there's always room for grace. There's always room to forgive people, regardless of their indiscretions. And we should be able to do that without canceling them out or throwing them completely away just because they did something wrong. I mean, the Bible does say, you know, let him who is without sin cast the first stone. So my thing is, people need to look at themselves, and they're always quick to cancel somebody. But if somebody put all of your business on Front Street, would you be canceled? So let's I think we all just
all of us to be canceled. Hello.
Right. I'm just saying, we all just need to just lean back, just lean back and just extend grace to people in general, just because they're another person and we know they're imperfect.
That's
So
well,
we have a comment.
I can agree that you can give grace to people, but I definitely think that it just depends on your role in leadership, so like it's one thing for, like I said, I mentioned R. Kelly earlier, so he is a public figure, musician, renowned in my mind. Even if he is a pedophile allegedly, still I think he's a musical genius because the man was super creative.
He is.
And, okay,
Yes.
now I can give him, I think that giving him grace as he's a musician, because he's a creative. I'm not necessarily looking for you to lead me. I enjoy your creativity. I can listen to your music, but then there's another thing when you are in a leadership role and a position of leading and politics. Unfortunately, with Andrew, the issue is not that I don't want to extend grace to you. It's that, one is that the offense, because it's, when he did his apology, I looked at it and I saw, where he talked about depression, he talked about substance abuse and it being in his family, for generations, and how, like he had some internal issues. And so then it's like, I can forgive that. But it's like, I can't, that particular scenario with him being in Miami and being in a hotel, but being in a hotel with someone who was allegedly overdosed with, meth, and then also a male prostitute. So then it's like the only thing that he really addressed on the video was alcoholism, but there were so many other factors that were swirling around that particular issue and circumstance with him being in the hotel. He's married, so there's so there's allegedly infidelity there, and then so this male prostitute is in the room. He's so drunk that he can't communicate. It's like, okay, you are a man in a leadership role to the point where he was an actual mayor of Tallahassee for 4 years, and then you're looking to be the governor and possibly could have been able to do that. However, but it's like, it's not that I don't want to extend grace, but your judgment is, like, because you're a political figure, like, to be able to do stuff like that, like, it just shows, it shows poor judgment, unfortunately. And I know that him coming out now, thank God this stuff came out during the pandemic, because he would have really been drugged. I think that the stuff that some people may even not know this story yet, because it went kind of covert, because it came around in March when COVID started like really ramping up. But in the grand scheme of things, because he's in leadership, it's sort of kind of like, I'm going to forgive you, but I don't know if I want you to be my governor.
So okay, this is how I feel about it. I feel like it does not matter the role. And here's why I say, because regardless of the role, you're a human being first. If we go back, there's a couple of things that I want to tackle. Number one, God put all people in position. All people are flawed people and come subject to doing of the flesh, period. Number two, just because you're in a leadership role does not erase your ability to make a mistake or have poor judgment. Andrew, in this case, unfortunately made personal choices that affected his personal life, and we should not be so quick to say that he's unfit to be in his leadership position because he made poor judgment for his personal life. Now, if you were telling me that he was stealing money from the city, if you was telling me that he was taking, people's social security and unemployment benefits and traveling and buying jets, then I got a problem, because then you are hurting the very people. So then in that case, maybe you are not responsible enough based upon your actions in that role. But he never got to be governor. He never got to be anybody's, anything. His lapse of judgment had nothing to do with his ability to lead. We see that in the Bible. We see that with David. He was a murderer. He was an adulterer. He was supposed to be out on the front line, but he was sitting back looking at Bathsheba bathing on the top. And God still allowed him to be in the position that he was, he still personally was deemed to be a man after God's own heart. And secondly, still noted to be one of the greatest kings that Israel had. So I don't think that, you're making a mistake has anything to do with your ability to lead. Now, as a person, we got to stop putting our trust in these leaders. Our trust is in God.
Absolutely.
God. Why do we pray for our leaders? Because they are human beings. We need to start putting our trust in God. And let's take that even down to personal levels. If you are married, you need to put in your faith in God that God gonna check this man and or woman that's gonna go ahead and be in your relationship, your life like that. When you got business relationships, you need to be trusting God that they're not going to try to swindle you and not uphold their end of the deal, whether you got a verbal, written contract, whatever have you. You know what I mean? We got to stop putting our trust in people and stop putting our trust in an unchanging, everlasting God. Because when you do that, it gives you more capacity for grace. It gives you more capacity for empathy. It gives you more capacity for letting bygones be bygones and pushing forward to the greater goal.
I hear you on that, but to April's point, I hear you on that. But to April's point, I know you said that he made some personal decisions, and that doesn't really translate over to the business side. But to April's point, when he talks about alcoholism being in his family and everything, I can definitely see where you're coming from, April, because alcoholism, yeah, you made a bad decision. Now it was in your personal life. Who's to say that you won't do that and make a wrong decision at work because you are drunk? I mean, you know what I mean? Like that, that's going to impair your judgment. So I can definitely see where you're coming from. But I think that even with that, that's why we should, to Dominique's point, keep him uplifted in prayer and make sure that we are here to, to push him spiritually so that he can make the proper decisions in the natural.
Right.
I agree.
Okay, so what I agree with praying for our leaders. God calls us and tells us to do that in the Bible. We are told to pray for our leaders. However, I definitely think that, I think that we're in a situation right now where, as Christians, we'll say, you know what? I'm going to just throw Trump out there just because, there were people who voted for him and they went behind him in their voting because of their Christian values and say that, even if, because I think that when he was running, there was allegedly where he grabbed some woman's vagina.
Oh, that's not alleged. That's not alleged.
He grabbed someone,
that ain't alleged.
It's like you don't want to say this stuff because it's so crazy.
The whole thing.
Okay, so
the whole thing.
Okay, he grabbed her. Okay, and still was able to be voted as president. This person is displaying poor judgment, some character flaws that you should look at when you cast your vote. All right, and so sometimes we want to overlook this stuff, but it does give an inclination of what you may have to come in a bad situation. So I don't think that when people voted for President Trump, that they were like, oh, when we get down the line, if we ever are at odds with someone, that he may have to lead us in a war, or that he would have to lead us through a health crisis like coronavirus. But I'm going to tell you, so just yesterday, I sent a letter to Lysol, an email to Lysol, because I'll go on Lysol's website and I'm like, all right, I've been looking for these darn Lysol sprays and wipes, and you guys manufacture here in the United States. I can't find no Lysol. This don't make sense to me. Like, as a business person, I'm sure that if there's a demand, you should make more Lysol. So I'm like, I know my own little petty way, y'all know me. So I really went in and I was just like, so are y'all not making Lysol no more? So in my research, what I found out, because it's the truth. It's like one thing for you to go to the store and they be like, oh, we're out of Lysol. We're running out. It's like, how much can you run out? Okay, something's not right here. Something's wrong. So let me go to Lysol's website. So let me just see if I can just buy it off the Lysol website, okay? And you click on shop now, they send you to Amazon, and Amazon sold out. My point is that I find out that the reason why Lysol don't have Lysol spray is because all the base ingredients come from China, the China virus. The president that y'all voted in that be talking smack about the place that has the base ingredients, that's not the only thing. It's like you can't look right.
Exit
You can't
stage left.
just run off the mouth as a leader. You can't run off and just be talking the stuff that you affecting people's livelihood. Like, we need Lysol.
But I also think that we talking apples and oranges too, because these people that voted this man in knew all the foolishness that he was bringing to the table, and they didn't feel that those things would hold him back from doing his ultimate job or coming through on those promises. Like,
that's the same situation. That's the same situation.
But when I'm saying it's a different situation, is because we knew he was a fool before he got up in there, and
we're not gonna do that.
Still use their right to vote him in, but that's not the problem. I mean, I guess that's not the condition at hand. The condition at hand is the forgiveness part. It's crazy to me how we can forgive a pedophile, but you ain't gonna forgive Andrew Gillum. That's crazy to me, because they both made personal, ridiculous decisions. R. Kelly made a personal bad decision, and we can go ahead and say maybe, there's a spiritual aspect to that. There's also, a mental aspect to abuse and things like that he endured. The same thing that's going on with Andrew Gillum. He has a history. Now, regardless of his alleged circumstances in the room, the issue is what got him to the room. And that was his alcoholism, and that's why he addressed it in his apology post. I think that we need to, it's crazy how we can say, if you're a leader, we're going to be more strenuous, but the same person that we allow access into our hearts through our ear gates, through our eye gates, through music videos, we still allow them access in, and that's leading your spirit somewhere else. Everybody in a position has the ability to lead you. Either they're going to lead you right or they're going to lead you wrong. R. Kelly music, lead me to the bedroom. I can't listen to R. Kelly music during my celibacy, okay? Because he leads me to a place where I be wanting to bust it down. I can't go ahead and listen to him because he's a leader of music. Let's talk about Lucifer. He was a leader. That's why a half of those angels follow him down to the hell, because he was a musician. He had leadership, and he got it beside himself. Okay, everybody in position that has a platform, including the four of us, are considered leaders. Period. So we all need to be responsible.
I definitely think that there's something about you having music and having it in your ear gates. And things that you watch. But I'm not looking to R. Kelly for R. Kelly to tell me to do something that could change my life. I'm not looking for R. Kelly to be like, hey, look, everyone that's listening to me and following me in my music, that I need you to go and be all that you can be, and or like, he's not in a position to.
So can I ask you a question? Why is it okay?
But I feel like
I guess what I'm saying is,
or a leader would, like, if you're in position and you have poor leadership, you can be a person that be like, don't wear no mask, and then you got people at parties or coming into stores and like they say, oh.
But can I throw this out there too? Because everybody got free will and everybody got free choice now. People out here not, wait a minute, hold on. People out here not wearing a mask, although leadership is not making it a mandate. It's like, just because leadership is not mandating that you wear it, common sense says wear it.
Because you have people that are listening to everything that you say. And everything that you do, they're watching, because you are a leader. And so can I present this? Inconsistencies in your message from the beginning, and you say we don't really need a mask. If it would have been like, not that it was mandated, but if the value and the importance of these things were said by this particular leader in the beginning, you are the head, and everything else trickles down to your governors, to your mayors. Everybody's following you. You are the CEO of the United States. Okay. So, or if Gilliam was in place, who knows where Gilliam could have went with his career, because he was that charismatic. But the point of it is that when you are in leadership, you have power of leading people to think a certain way. And I think that the reason why we have so much chaos right now, and it sounds silly to me to have chaos when it comes to people wearing a mask or not wearing a mask and fighting, people, the people that work in stores or restaurants because they ask them to put it on, or getting in fights, pulling people's masks off at parties. Jack talked about that. But the point of it is that if it would have came down from the get-go, I definitely don't think that it would have been as much pushback as we see.
But I guess the point that I'm making is the forgiveness, right? Because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about when is it okay to forgive them, and when is forgiving them, when do you not forgive him? The reason why I'm saying President Trump is apples and oranges for this conversation for me is because he was a fool before he got into the house. He a fool while he in the house. The same people that voted for him to get in the house, they knew he was a fool before he got up in the house.
He was a fool. They thought it was great.
No, but what I'm saying is he was a fool, and we know he was a fool.
That's your opinion. That's your opinion.
My opinion, but listen, there's always hold on, Jack. In my opinion, is not the point here. Everybody's gonna have an opinion. The reason why I'm saying it's apple and oranges is because when we, as the people, talk about offering forgiveness for people who make mistakes in positions of leadership, is it something we should do? The answer is always, for me, yes, because here's where I stand on. God put people in positions for a reason. Everybody is flawed. If we're looking for a leader who ain't gonna make a poor decision, we're never gonna ever have no leadership. Don't think just because somebody's dirty laundry is not in the front of everyone's viewpoint doesn't mean they haven't made poor decisions. Doesn't mean that they hadn't put the people that they're leading in compromising position. I love my church. I love my job, but I never think that my bishop is above making a mistake and putting himself, his family, the church in a vulnerable position. I always pray that he does not, but it doesn't erase the fact that he is capable of doing it. The people of the CEOs of my company, my leaders, my direct leaders, they are all capable of doing it, is what I'm saying. So the point is, we need to just be careful, especially as Christians, the light and salt of the world, to say, I'm okay with forgiving small offenses, and I'm not okay with forgiving the big offenses, because at the end of the day, God forgave all the offenses. All the offenses that we do every single day, he forgives it. Now, again, am I saying that these people deserve to stay in the positions? Probably not, if it gets to the point where every decision you're making is hurting the people who you're leading, aka our current president. I am against the current president because no decision he has made is in direct benefit of his constituents. His asthma got to go. Excuse me, I almost slipped up on the show. He got to go. Okay. But what I'm saying is, but my level of forgiveness for the things that he has done, honey, I done been forgave you for it. You don't know no better. You don't know the Lord. You don't know no better. But however, God put you in this position probably to shake up the country, to show the country where we really stand as a country, what we really about as a country.
It's not that I think that you and I are agreeing. Then it's not that I don't forgive these leaders. Like, I forgive R. Kelly. I forgive him. I forgive. I'm sorry.
What is going
on?
She's gonna be stepping in the name of love shortly.
Okay, because that's serious stuff. Like pedophilia, like that stuff happens, and that's horrible when people, mess with people that are younger. I don't take that lightly.
Right.
And sexual abuse is a horrible thing. Okay, and then, but I also realize that just because I forgive you don't mean that I need to have you in a leadership position.
Right. Right.
Okay. I guess we
agree on that. But the forgiveness part, I don't want our viewers to take away saying that it's okay not to forgive the big stuff. No. You have to forgive the big stuff. And guess what? And I'm telling the viewers, the way to help you get to be able to forgive the big stuff is to stop putting your trust in these people. Yeah. Stop. yes, they in a position and you hope that they can make a change. We hoping that's why we vote you in these positions, or that's why we, place you in those positions by listening to your music or watching your podcast or voting for you on the political platform. But honey, if you show out, act out, and prove that you don't deserve to be there, then it is our position as the people that placed you there to get you on out of there. But forgiving you is never the problem. And that's it takes me back to what I said earlier in the show. I said, I'm always going to forgive. However, I do need to handle the situation differently after the situation has taken place. So after all of these things that you have done, then at that point, I need to say, what, I forgive you. I understand you're human. I understand you made bad choices, but you are no longer ready to continue to operate in the position that you have been operating in. When you are able to make better decisions that, would affect yourself and your constituents or your fans or your base, then you step yourself back in the position. So I definitely think we need to attack the scenario, never attack the person. That's my standpoint.
I'm like in total agreement with everything that you're saying, Dom. But I have a question. So in the case of Andrew, because Dante brought this up, can we forgive him enough that we can allow him to run? Based on not that offense only, but based on what he did for Tallahassee, the charisma that he's had throughout when he was running, which is when I was able to see him, because I never lived in Tallahassee to know him to be, but to see him articulate in the manner that he did. Do we think that Andrew Gillum because he's controlling the narrative here. Like it was a horrible situation that he was in a very compromising situation. That's all I gotta say. Very compromising situation. But but can we? I don't even want to just say African Americans, but just in general, do we think that this guy probably has a chance to redeem himself as a leader and be able to run?
I would say
yes.
If I could jump in, I want to say absolutely. I think that from a spiritual perspective, all of us fall short. And the thing is, me personally, I question, was that apology or was this plea for forgiveness or was this open letter on Instagram really necessary? And I think that it takes a lot for you to really, especially when you're a public figure, even if you're not a public figure, even if, it takes a lot for you to come back and to say, hey, I was wrong. That has a lot to do with integrity, has a lot to do with character. And what personally I respect is his willingness to say, hey, I messed up. I'm getting counseling, but this is something that my family has been dealing with. My dad succumbed to alcoholism. I'm dealing with it, but I'm working through it. Yes, I messed up. Yes, I broke the trust that you all had developed or put into me in terms of leading you all, and post election, and just in general as an advocate, a community advocate, a grassroots leader, so on and so forth. And so for me personally, I do think that if he was to run for something in the future, I would definitely lend my ears to hearing, what he may want to bring to community or to the state or to the country as a leader. I think a lot of times, we have to be realistic, and of course, you're hurt when people who you trust or look up to, it's not just public figures. It could be your parents. It could be your mentor. It could be your pastor, as Dominique shared. Of course you're hurt. Transparently speaking, I grew up at a church in Columbia, South Carolina, where not short after we moved to Florida, my family and I moved to Florida, my church basically closed down due to the infidelity of my leader. My pastor had infidelity in his marriage. And so a lot of people left that church broke. A lot of them left hurt. A lot of them gave him the side eye. A lot of them followed him. A lot of them, moved, kept supporting him, kept loving him. Didn't think nothing of it, didn't care. And so I think that we have to be really realistic and even ask ourselves, have you messed up, Dante? Yes. Are you fallible? Have you fell short? Have you messed up? Maybe not as big as Andrew, maybe not as big as R. Kelly, but have you done something stupid and needed forgiveness of friend, forgiveness of family, forgiveness of colleague, forgiveness of self? Absolutely. And so I think the same grace that we work diligently each day to extend to ourselves, the same grace that God gives us, those grace gifts every single day are the same grace gifts that if we deem that we want to live a new life in Christ each day, we want to die daily, we want to be more like him, we want to seek his face, we want to make it to heaven, is the same grace we should extend to those that we look to in term for leadership and support. I would like to transition the conversation and talk about some of the takeaways for our viewers in terms of forgiving. What are some things that we can kind of take away from, not just from the Andrew Gilliam situation, but just from a general perspective of how to forgive, how to address forgiveness in our own lives?
So definitely, I wanted to start this off. So it's time for to make a shift. It's time to make a shift, people. And the first thing I would say is address your inner pain. Address your inner pain. And here's why I said it. A couple of things. You have to realize that you yourself are a flawed individual. And I've learned that a lot of the times the things that we get offended by is because it's already inside of us. It's already in us, which is why we're offended by it. So, for example, I might not like you, April, because you have a spunk, you have this work ethic, you have all of this stuff, and I feel like I don't have it. So it's not an issue of me liking you as April. It's an issue that you are booming, beaming, glowing with something that I feel that I have in lack of, right? So I understand that. I've learned that that's how people do. So I feel that when you address your inner pain, when you address the situation that's going on with inside of you, you deal with people the way that they truly need to be dealt with about them. Does that make sense? You start unblurring the lines when you address your own issue. That way you can see clearly what's going on and be able to speak directly to the issue and not be living in a state of offense and unforgiveness. So that's my takeaway. Address your inner pain.
Yeah, I guess in the grand scheme of things, just to piggyback off of what you're saying, the second point that I would be that if you can address your inner pain, then you can also be able to empathize with someone. I think forgiveness starts with being empathizing with someone else's situation. I think a lot of times the reason why we don't forgive is because we don't place ourselves in that other person's shoes. I think that when you can place yourself in their shoes and see it from their lens, like with Andrew, Andrew talked about alcoholism. I can place myself in the shoes of Andrew by saying that I know about alcoholism, like my father suffered from it as well, and so, and it's something that runs through my family, and that if I don't check or it goes unchecked, that it could be an issue for me. I've had, I've taken a break and a fast from alcohol just for that same reason, because it could get out of hand. And so being able to say, you know what, I get it. I understand that, that I could be placed in this compromising situation or circumstance if I don't take care of myself and make sure that I'm not, overindulging in alcohol. And so being able to place yourself in their shoes is a way to be able to forgive people.
Absolutely.
Right. And I think that you definitely need to develop a forgiving heart. We've got to shed the bitterness and hurt that we have, and put love in its place. And then we need to repeat that with other people. I believe that you become more free to love more widely and deeply once you go ahead and shed all that hurt and resentment and bitterness. So we definitely need to do that. Just make sure that our heart is in the right place, that we're able to not only love others, but love ourselves.
Right.
And I want to say, as a last quick way, never forget the ultimate example of forgiveness, right? Learning how to trust can hurt, but learning how to forgive can really heal. And if you look at Jesus as the ultimate example, or consider Jesus the ultimate example, you should remember or reflect on the crucifixion of Jesus. There was indeed a natural sense of hurt and betrayal that Jesus may have felt initially, but the condition of his heart immediately made him forgive those who offended him. In essence, the proof was in the nails. He didn't let his reality lead to his failure. And I think that's important for us all to know. When forgiveness went into play, there were no more nails. There were physical aspects of the nails. You could see the nail prints, but the nails were gone. The shame was left on the cross. That hurt, that pain, all of that was left on the cross. And as a believer, we know that today there are no nails in his hands and that he's seated on the right hand of God the Father. The point is, God honors forgiveness and the pure in heart. And the same place where the nails were is the same place where healing is. And so healing, it takes forgiveness is faith. Forgiveness is exemplifying the faith that you live out each day. And so while naturally forgiveness may seem hard or difficult or commonplace even for some, it most certainly is necessary. And for the believer, it's certainly something that each of us should be quick to really kind of assess or exhibit, because we believe in God the Father. And so those four ideals, those four takeaways, I hope for the viewers will really, really serve as a catalyst to you when it comes to forgiving and really kind of allowing situations to really happen as they may, but really being open and having an open heart and a willingness to forgive. First self, if there's been an offense or you feel offended, and then move forward with commitment to forgive someone else who may have offended you or the situation that may have offended you.
Right.
So before we go, though, we wanted to talk briefly. We recognize that this is an election year. And so while this is off the topic of forgiveness, we definitely want to stay true to the times that we're living in. So we want to encourage all of our viewers, all of our followers, to prepare for the primary election, especially here in Jacksonville, here in Florida. The primary election is August 18th, and April is holding up her absentee ballot. She just got it in the mail. So if you haven't checked your mail because you're scared to touch it because of the pandemic, go check your mail and go with your lifestyle today. But please make sure that you all go vote. It is so important. And not because President Trump is in office. And I think obviously that's important. We need to take care of that. But go vote because you have the right, because you have the ability, and because people fought for you, no matter what race you are. People fought for you to have this right. So August 18th, mark your calendars. I'm sure you'll hear about it. I'm sure you've been receiving campaign letters and appeals via mail or email or text. I know I have. And when I got a text, just small anecdote, I got two texts actually this week from people who were, I guess, working with candidates to get elected. And they asked, can I have your support for this particular candidate? And I was like, yeah. So I don't even know your candidate. And so I'm not going to say yes or no right now. But that leads me to the second point. Make sure you all do your research on the candidates as well. Look at their track record, look at their history. Go ahead, Jax.
Since we're talking about politics or whatever, and I know we have a lot of people here in Jacksonville, I am not a, oh my God, go vote for this person. But I do stay here in District 13 in Jacksonville. And I had a situation going on, and I am definitely one of those people that reach out to my representative when I have a situation going on. So I did reach out to my representative that I have here for District 13. They got back with me within the hour and was able to handle my situation expeditiously. And that is Tracy Davis here in District 13. Her and her team are phenomenal. Her team are phenomenal. And so I wanted to go ahead and publicly go ahead and thank them. And definitely, if you're looking for somebody who gets things done, Tracy Davis, District 13, get it done.
Just a little shade. Why didn't you call President Trump to take care of your situation? Just saying. So also,
you got to go up the ladder. You got to go up the ladder. You got to start here and go up the ladder.
On November 3rd, guys, is the general election, and we definitely want you all to make sure you go and vote at the general election. Find out where your precinct is. Make sure you have your voter's registration card and your ID. Stay in the line. Don't leave the line. There's definitely voter suppression out there. So make sure you stay woke and stay alert to what the changes are in terms of the election and the polling places and all of that. But with that being said, we definitely want to thank you guys for watching us. You all follow us every single week. You all support us every single week, and we don't take it for granted. We love you. So make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, share with your friends. Thank you guys for watching yet another episode of Totally Naked, and we will see you next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.